Welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're diving into something pretty amazing. The science of how you can actively change, rewire, and basically upgrade your own mind. And just to be clear, this isn't science fiction. This is real, hard neuroscience. All right, let's kick things off with an idea from neuroscientist Dr. David Eagleman that it might freak you out a little. He says your brain actually peaked when you were just 2 years old. From that point on, the number of connections in your brain starts to go down. Now, that sounds like it's all downhill from there, right? But hold on, because that's actually where the really cool part of the story begins.
See, this isn't a story about decay. It's actually a story about the incredible, phenomenal power you have to reshape your own mind every single day of your life. And it's all thanks to this one amazing concept, brain plasticity.
So, what is brain plasticity? It basically means your brain it's moldable. It's not set in stone. Just like you can shape a piece of plastic, your brain physically changes its own structure based on what you do and what you experience. Every new skill you learn, every conversation you have, you're literally rewiring the circuitry up there. And this whole process creates this really interesting trade-off as we get older. We all start out with a ton of what's called fluid intelligence. That's the ability to learn pretty much anything, or like a blank canvas. But as we live and learn, we trade some of that for crystallized intelligence. That's our deep, hard-won knowledge about how the world works. It's like we're filling in a super detailed map. Okay, so if our brains are these super adaptable, changeable things, why is it so darn hard to change a simple habit, Why do we always seem to get in our own way? I mean, come on, you've totally been there, right? Arguing with yourself over a chocolate chip cookie. One part of your brain is like, go for it, you deserve it. And the other part is screaming, no, think of your diet. Well, that little internal debate, it's not a bug, it's a feature. It tells you that you aren't just one single unified mind. Yeah, a much better way to think about your brain is as a team of rivals, or maybe a neural parliament. You've got all these different networks inside your head, kind of like political parties, and they all want different things. They're all fighting for control, and whichever one wins the vote, well, that determines whether you eat the cookie or not. So the big question is, how do you make sure the best version of you wins that vote? How do you rig the election in your own favor? Well, you use this really clever psychological trick. It's called a Ulysses contract. It's all about your present self outsmarting your future self. Okay, so here's the game plan. Step 1, you know there's a temptation coming up, let's say late night snacking. Step 2, while you're still feeling rational and strong, you make a decision to tie the hands of your future weaker self. And step 3, you just set things up so it's really hard or even impossible to do the bad thing. The classic example, if you don't want to eat junk food at 11 p.m., just don't buy it in the first place. Simple, right? You're locking your future self into the right decision. All right, so that's how we can outsmart our impulsive selves. But what about playing the long game? How do we proactively build a stronger, more resilient brain that's going to last? Well, the secret sauce here is challenge. Novelty and challenge. You've got to keep pushing yourself just outside your comfort zone, into that sweet spot where things are difficult but not impossible. See, that's what forces your brain to build new neural pathways, like little construction crews laying down new roads to handle the new information. If you're just coasting, you're not building. And there's this incredible real-world example of this. It's called the religious orders study. Researchers followed a group of Catholic nuns for decades, and what they found when they examined their brains after they passed away was absolutely mind-blowing. So get this. A lot of these nuns had brains that were physically riddled with the plaques and tangles of severe Alzheimer's disease. They should have had major cognitive issues. But here's the thing. In their daily lives, they showed zero symptoms. None. And why? Because their lives were packed with activity, social challenges, learning new games, responsibilities. They never retired into a passive life. All that activity built up something called a cognitive reserve. The best way to picture this cognitive reserve is to think of your brain as a city. Every time you learn something new or challenge yourself, you're building new roads, new highways, new bridges around that city. So later in life, if some of the old roads get shut down because of age or disease, it doesn't matter as much. You've built so many different routes that you can still get where you need to go. Your mind stays sharp. Okay, so this brings us to the modern world. Because, let's be honest, our most powerful tool for finding novelty and challenge today is technology. But it's a real double-edged sword, especially when you start talking about AI. I love this.
Way back, Steve Jobs came up with this amazing metaphor. He called the personal computer a bicycle for the mind. And it was perfect, right? It was a tool that took our own mental power and just amplified it. It helped us go further and faster than we could on our own. So if the PC was a bicycle, then AI is a motorcycle for the mind. I mean, it's a quantum leap in power and speed. But here's the catch with a motorcycle. You gotta know how to ride it, or you'll just crash. The absolute key is to use this incredible power to strengthen your brain, not to let it get lazy and atrophy. And the way you do that is by understanding the difference between what we can call vicious friction and virtuous friction. Vicious friction, that's the boring, mindless, repetitive stuff. Think copying and pasting data from a spreadsheet. That's the stuff you should absolutely outsource to AI. But virtuous friction, now that's the good stuff. That's the hard, creative, problem-solving thinking that actually builds those new roads in your brain. So this is how you use AI to upgrade your brain. Don't just ask it for an answer so you can copy and paste it and be done. No. Use it as a sparring partner, a thinking partner. Get genuinely curious. Ask it to poke holes in your ideas. Ask it to play devil's advocate. Challenge it to be brutally honest and show you your blind spots. Basically, use it as your own personal 24/7 tutor to go way deeper on anything you want to learn. So it all comes back to this one powerful idea from Dr. Eagleman. We can be the sculptors of our own brains. Your mind isn't some fixed thing you were born with. It's this dynamic, living piece of clay. And every single day, with every choice you make, you're sculpting it. You are the artist. And that leaves us with just one question, really. You know the science now. You have the tools. You have the power to literally rewire your own mind. So what new pathway are you going to build in your brain today?